Alright, so in this tutorial, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to make a pixelation animation. So pixelation basically is stop motion but using a person, okay? Now there's just a couple of things really that you need to know, and then beyond that, it really isn't that much more or extra work or what have you, okay? So first off, what you need is some sort of camera. So you can use your phone if you want. Like if you have a phone cameras are actually, the quality is very good. The issue that you run into is wobbling. So if you have I know some people have phone holders or whatever, like that can put it on a stand. Like that would be fine. If you have something like that, that would totally work well. Either way, you need some way of making the camera not move. If the camera shakes at all when you're taking your pictures, you're going to find that it's just going to be all jittery and you're not going to be able to read it, and it's not going to read very well. What I end up doing for my example here, normally we do the best case scenario. What you want to use is if you have a DSLR and a camera stand that you mount it to, and you can just take pictures and you do it like that. That would be the best case scenario. If you have that as an option, do that. That would be the very best. What I end up doing for mine, and this might work for you, is I just used my webcam on my laptop, because it's still, you know what I mean? It's stuck to the screen, and I can just tap the space bar, so I'm not tapping on the screen, so that's not moving it at all. Because even if you have let's say your phone mounted to something, every time you touch it, you're gonna hit the phone. You know what I mean? So you might shift it that way as well. This way, it doesn't do it at all. The only problem with it, and as you can probably tell with mine here, is that the quality isn't as good as if you used a camera. But maybe a laptop might be your best case scenario. Like I said, for me, I just ended up using the laptop I have downstairs. I was surprised at how poor the quality was. I thought it would be a little bit better than this, but yeah, pretty bad. My webcam here is actually quite a bit nicer. I should have used this, because this thing is like, this one will do 4K, but it was super duper expensive. So anyway, the most important thing is to have a still camera. Now, if you do have a fancy camera, or you have whatever camera that you're using, if you have some sort of settings, you want to make sure that you have it all set to like the right, focus and the right, what do you call it, f-stop, and the shutter speed, and everything is like what you want, and then you want to make it manual. The reason why you want to make it manual is that if you have it on automatic, which you don't have that control really over on a laptop, but if you have it on automatic, what will happen is that as it takes the picture, it will try to adjust all the settings, and you might move during it, and then you get a blurry image, or you don't get the picture you were expecting. So it's best to kind of keep that in manual. But again, main thing is to have the camera as still as possible, and then take your images. And then what you're going to do, after you get the camera where you want it, and you can even have somebody help you, I would almost suggest it. You don't even have to if you do decide to do this, you don't even have to do a pixelation of yourself. If you want to use like a sibling, or a friend, or something like that, I don't have any issues with that, but you need to be directing them. And honestly, that's actually easier, because you could just move them like a puppet. It's hard to move yourself consistently if you have to keep going back and taking the picture. Either way, even if you're going to do it yourself, it'd be helpful to have a helper of some sort. So again, let's say you have a little sibling, you'd be like, hey, hit this button whenever I tell you to, and they would hit the button for you. If you're going to do pixelation. But basically, you need to have that camera still. Yeah, it's helpful to have helpers, things like that, okay? Then what you're going to do is, make sure you have a good area to work with. And then here, what I did is I took these pictures. Arrow keys don't do anything. Will that do it? Okay. And then what you want to do is just take a picture, move, put yourself in your position, take a picture, take a picture, take a picture, take a picture. And here you can see my wonderful skating skills. And then I also did this one so it looked like I was flying. It's pretty great stuff, right? I need to lose weight. Okay, but that's what you're basically going to do, is you're going to take picture after picture after picture of you doing something. What I don't want to see with the pixelation is this. Something that you would just normally be able to do. Like if it's just you walking across the screen or doing whatever, then that's boring. Now, if that's part of, like, let's say a narrative that you're making, like I'm going to walk over and I'm going to grab a plate, but then the plate moves, and then I try to grab it, that's fine. Like if it's part of the whole thing. But I don't want, it has to be something that's bewitching or animated about it. Something that you wouldn't be able to do with live action footage. I want it to be something that could only be done this way. So like another thing you could do, I couldn't do it here because I didn't have the helper. is if you want to make it look like you're flying, you can jump, take a picture, and then you move over a little bit, you jump, you take a picture as you're, in the air. And then what it'll look like your knees will be bent up, but it'll look like you're floating over the ground. Like you couldn't normally do that, right? You can make it so it looks like you're moving objects, right? So you can go like this and then, just move the object in between, things like that. But I want it to be some sort of bewitching kind of thing. Those are the kind of actions you should do. Now, when you do go to take these pictures, the other thing that's very important to do is this. You can't do retakes. So, actually, that's even a problem here for me. I didn't even notice that. Oh, maybe I'll show you how to fix that too. But if you look at my pictures, it looks like they go by date or time. It looks like they're by time. So normally on a camera, what it'll do is it'll name the picture like DSC underscore 341. Then it'll be DSC underscore 342, 343, 345. It'll have a number next to it because it just names it whatever the next number is. And that's very important for Photoshop in order to be able to read the thing as an image sequence. We're going to bring it in as an image sequence, but if you let's say it goes to 342 and then you deleted 343 because it was a mess up frame, and then the next one was 344, when you bring it in, it's going to show it as a blank frame. So you need to make sure that it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or whatever. It doesn't have to start at 1, but it needs to be all the way through basically an image sequence. Okay. You don't really have much of an option on there. So, in fact, actually, with this, I'm going to go through and rename these because if you look, you see mine are not, I didn't know my camera did that. Normally I don't do it with a Windows computer, so, or a laptop in general. Usually I use a camera and the cameras just always name them one after the other. So just make sure that they're named one thing after the other. So, I'm going to go through and I'm going to pause this video, but I'm just going to call this like IMG, 001, and then I'm going to name the next one IMG 002, and the next one IMG 003. Okay, I'm going to go through and just name them all like that. I know this is very tedious. There's other ways of doing it. I think you can do it in Bridge, but I don't want you to have to download an extra picture or an extra piece of software and stuff. So I'm just going to go, I would just manually do it if you don't know how to do it. You might have a number of them. I don't really have that many pictures, but you might have a decent amount of them. So I'm going to rename mine real quick. So I renamed them all. Notice that I did what we call frame padding. So I did 001, 002. That's because if you just do like IMG 1, IMG 2, IMG 3, what would end up happening is it would do IMG 1, and then next would be IMG 10, IMG 11, until it got to 19, and then it would be IMG 2, then IMG 20. I don't know if Photoshop will know to work correctly unless you do that frame padding. So you want to make sure that you set it up this way. Most computers nowadays will know to look at them this way, but back in the day, everything had a frame padding because the computer would not put them in the order that they were. It would just had its own way of working. So make sure that you do number them like that, okay? Now, when you do go to take your images and your pictures and stuff, make sure that when you are taking your photos, that you don't do too big a gaps. You want to make the one picture to the next picture. It's better to make them too close than to make them too far apart. Because if they're too far apart, there's going to be such a jump. It's not going to look very good. So if you want to have smoothness, the more frames near each other, the smoother the motion's going to be. Also the slower, but you can just make the frame rate faster. So make sure that you don't do too big of jumps. You might want to try a test one, do it first, and then go through and do your final one. All right. So anyways, I have my pictures here. That looks fine. This is a really great thing also, that if you're a photography person, I've seen photography people that, like photographers, like wedding photographers and stuff, they will do pixelations for like the bridal, like the man and the woman getting ready and stuff. They'll even use it as like an announcement video. So they'll do a pixelation of them like getting dressed and like a whole thing. And it looks really cool. All right, so we're gonna open up Photoshop. We'll create new, and what we want to do is you'll have all these presettings. We want the film and video. Now, this makes a difference as to what the resolution is. So normally, what you're watching on your TV is more than likely 1080p, right? So it's 1920 by 1080. That's the kind of typical HD resolution. But now, if you're using a DSLR camera, when you do take those pictures, make sure that you lower the resolution to something not too high, because those can take super high res, and on your computer probably won't be able to handle it. I would suggest just doing the 720p. It's still considered HD, but it's kind of the lowest HD. So anyway, 1280 by 720. We're going to choose this one. And we'll create. And that looks good. All right, so next we're going to do is bring in our stuff as footage. So we're going to go to motion. So I want to go over here. And right now we're on essentials. I want to switch it to motion. That'll basically give me this the timeline. So whenever you do anything with motion or animation or anything like that, you have to you're going to want to switch over to the motion workspace. So there's two types of animation that we can create. We can create frame animation, and we can create video timeline. So one is meant to what it'll do is you can have each picture and you can see them, and then you manipulate each picture and you say how long each picture takes. The other one works more like a non-linear editor that you would see in like iMovie. Does iMovie have that? I don't know if iMovie's it, but you know, like Premiere or After Effects, where basically it's just a video timeline. You can put your video clips in it. For this, actually, believe it or not, we want to create a video timeline. So you have those two options. Here's a little arrow. You're gonna go video timeline, and you actually have to click on this button, and that will create the video timeline. Okay. The next thing I want to do is this. Before you bring your footage in, you want to go to the settings here, and we want to change what the frame rate is. If you do this afterwards, it messes up your footage. So what we want to do is set the timeline frame rate. Right now it's set to 29.97, which is a lossy frame. Basically, old video, that's what we use for video. But for animation, typically, like your Saturday morning cartoons are 24 frames per second, but on twos, which more or less means it's 12 frames per second. But stuff that you watch, like the Disney classical animations, those are just straight 24 frames per second. So for ours, you're going to want, probably would be my guess, around 6 or 8. It depends on your animation. So you could do this a couple times and see what looks good for you. But you might need to change it afterwards. Okay. So anyway, we're going to say 10's going to still be too high. 10's actually a little too low, to be honest. Anything below 12, and you can start to see the individual frames. Like it doesn't have good motion. But part of the pixelation thing is that, and I'm assuming when you make your video, when you make your footage, you're probably going to be spacing yours out too far. So let's, for mine, I'm going to do 8. Okay, so I'm going to type 8 frames per second, and I'm going to hit OK. Okay, now I can bring my footage in. So to do that, we're just going to go to Layer, and we're going to do, where are you? Video Layers, New Video Layer from File. And then I'm going to navigate to that video, or to my image sequence. I'm going to go here, and then I named it, where are you? Pixilation image sequence, and I'll select the first one. You'll see that it's weird, it doesn't give me the option to not do that, but it should automatically know that it's an image sequence. Maybe because it's video, it knows not worry about that, but it will know it's an image sequence. You click on that and then you hit open, and it's going to bring it in as footage. Now this is that thing I said, if it's not a timeline that makes sense, it's not going to, if it's not a timeline that, I'm sorry, if when you take your footage, you don't have it as 01, 02, 03, 04, when it brings it in as footage, you're either going to be missing frames or things going to be out of order or what have you. So you need to make sure that it's an image sequence, okay? Now, from here, mine actually is the 1280 by 720. So I'm just going to control minus. These lines here are for title and action safe. We actually don't need them, so I'm going to go to view and just turn off extras because I don't find that particularly useful. Now, mine is actually the right size. You can see because I was using a webcam, and webcams are just going to be the standard, most of them. But yours might not be. So what you might need to do is actually just go ahead and hit Control T. It's going to ask you to convert to a smart object. That's fine. And then you can just scale it to the appropriate size. So if you need to scale it, that's how you're going to do it. Okay. You're going to lose a little bit of control, but honestly, there's really not much you can do with the video layer as it was anyway. Now what I can do is hit play, and you're going to see my beautiful animation. Woo! Right? It's pretty great. I'm going to go ahead and click. So this is how we zoom in and out of our timeline. All right, so it looks like mine is 4 seconds, or no, I'm sorry, it's not 4 seconds. I'm going to take this layer and I'm going to put it, let me see, can I do it this way? Oh, I know why. I'm going to take this layer and put it above. Actually, you know what? We're just going to get rid of it. I'm just going to delete it. We don't really need that one. Okay. And where's the loop button? Right here. Let's go ahead and loop playback. And let's hit thing, and then you'll see that it's going to keep looping. Huzzah! Isn't that great? Woo. Right? Now, what I could do, so this looks fine, and that would be good enough to do. If you were happy and you know it, you can totally do that, and we could call that good. Now, let's say I want to do something just a little more with it, let's say, right? What you could do is I could go to the layer, and we could just do a video layer and a new blank video layer. And that's just going to put a video layer above it. And what this allows me to do is that, let's say when I'm doing this, I'm using fart power. So I'm going to go to, let's say, here, and I'm just going to make it a green gas. Let's see. And let's use my brush. And let's go ahead and just make this a bit more wispy. We'll do this. Okay, let's see. Yeah, okay. So what I can do now is on this frame, I'm just going to kind of start a little bit. Oh, I thought that would... what is it J and K? Nope, that ain't it. Sorry. All the programs are different. I'm trying to... Okay, so we'll go... And I'm just going to pull this one frame over. So you can see, boom. I'm just going to pull this slider over, and then I'll do my next. Right? Okay. And then we'll do another frame. I'll get rolling off my foot. Okay. And then we'll just have it kind of wisping away. That. And then we'll just do a little bit of tendrils. And now you can see when we go through, it's going to look like I went. It's wonderful, right? That's what everybody wants. Give the people what they want. That's what I always say. Okay. So, yeah, there's, that's pretty great. Now, we could try to do some other things. So I could, for instance, do file, how do I want to do this? Well, we'll just open. So let me see. I think I want to see these as large icons. That's not large. There we go. I want the one that's just the background. Right here. Open that guy up. This is my kid's room. It's kind of the biggest room in the house. Okay. And we're going to Control A, Control C. And we'll Control V. All right, so let me see. Make a new layer. Control V. There we go. Okay, so I just make a new layer. I paste it, and I'm just going to make sure this goes to the end here. And then what we can do is, let me see. I could do something like this. So what I'm going to do is bring this over here. And let's bring this over here. I'm just going to, okay, so right here is where this first starts, right? So I'm going to pull this all the way so it's one frame. And we're going to put it over top of it. I'm going to take its opacity down a whole bunch so I can see. And what I'm going to do is basically use the eraser here. This is just like if you want to do a special effects thing. And yeah, it's a harsh edge. And I'm going to erase out so I can see my body here. Like so. Just so you get an idea, let me turn this all the way up again. So I'm just erasing out so you can see my body, right? But not the chair, right? And then what I could do is, again, make another layer, Control V, and do basically the same thing. I'm just going to take the opacity, let's say, to there. And on this one, again, I'm just going to go ahead and erase out that part just for where my face is, because we're making a cool special effect movie. We're going to win an Oscar. Okay, but if I put this all the way back up, you're going to see the chair is going to go away. Oops, got to make sure. Let's back this up. Forgot to shrink this. Doop. Okay. So basically, I could do something like that and just erase out the chair by pasting, because I have that one frame that has nothing in it. But obviously, you can see I didn't do a great job because it looks okay in this one, but you'd want to do a better job. But you could composite things that you know and put in for a couple of frames, items like that, and then you have, you know, something that looks kind of cool. Yeah. All right. Probably would have made more sense actually to put underneath. Actually, let's do this. Control V. Let's go to this layer. Let's turn these ones off. Okay. I'm going to go to that layer, and now when I erase out... Oh, you know, I can't... So remember I made it a smart object? Because it's a smart object, I can't erase out the underneath of it. So that isn't going to work. We would have to do it the way that I was showing. Anyway. Okay, so... yeah, so that's the pixelation. I want you to do whatever you want with it. You could do some really cool stuff. I have some stuff posted on my site that you can look at. Hopefully that inspire you a little bit. You know, maybe go outside and do like... you interacting with a chalk drawing that you draw on the side of a wall or something, or you draw like moving around, or, you know, if you can do anything outside just because we're stuck inside all day, like that would be great. Do something cool, do something interesting, something different. Try to do something off the wall. There's so many opportunities to do really cool stuff. And there's amazing work with this that you see. It's funny because you would think this is so old school and not that popular, but actually I see commercials made with it all the time. It's become a very popular method of animation. Even with all the technology and stuff that we have, people will use this in tandem with that. So really, and if you want to do stop motion, it's the same exact process. I mean, literally, this is just stop motion with people. That's what pixelation is. So if you want to do stop motion, totally do that too. I've had a lot of people where they'll just animate their little figures moving around, or, you know what I mean? You could do whatever you want, but I just want you to do something that's really fun, and try to be innovative and creative with it. Okay, don't, like mine I did here is really crappy and stupid. I just wanted to bang something out so you guys could kind of see how to do it. I don't want to do anything that would be, you know, super inspiring. All right. So good luck, and if you run any issues, just let me know. I did forget one thing, and that's actually, how do you save this, right? I don't know. I realized when I was exporting it, I was like, oh crap, I didn't do that part. So to export this, for one, you can just save this as a PSD file. That will totally work. But to actually export it out, you should keep both just for purposes. And if you want to give me both, that would be best too. But to export it out, all you do is you click on this menu button right here, and then you should see render video ... And select the folder that you want to save to. I'm just going to save right to my desktop. We'll select that folder, and I will just call this pixilation.mpeg4. The rest of the settings should be fine. You should just leave them right at what they are. It should automatically just be to the size that you want. But if you did want to change anything, like the frame rate or the resolution, or maybe it's more than what you wanted to render, that's fine too. Okay, so then you just hit render, and then it's going to render out a video. I think it takes a little longer than it should, just for something like this. Because, I mean, it's, what, not even 3 seconds, but, you know, c'est la vie. And then it should render it out, and then if we look at my desktop, a lot of extra stuff here. It's still not there. Give it a second. Where are you? There it is. And there it is. We'll open it up, and then you'll see we have a wonderful video of me doing a fart spin. Woo! All right, so let's start from the beginning. Need to add some sound effects. All right, so it looks like it went a little longer than I intended. That's fine. And that's it. So, let's back this up. Okay, so right here is the reason why I went longer. So see this thing right here? We got to make sure we pull this there and then do the render video. And then work area, so 0 to 22 frames. And then we would render it. So anyway, that's it. So just go ahead and render that, and then you are good to go. And just like I said, submit the Photoshop and the video, please. And thank you.